And you are watching another edition of Blitz. Sorry for the hiatus. I'll explain everything, even though there's really not much explaining to do. Hopefully I didn't lose like half of the people that were listening, but we're back. I plan on being back officially every week. I don't plan on doing film every week. I can't do it with this team anymore, at least not right now, where the team is just an absolute dumpster fire. And it's another wasted year. You're talking about 14 years straight of no playoffs. We all thought this year was gonna be different. You know, you evaluate the roster, and you know a lot of people thought the Jets, even Vegas, 9.5 wins, I believe. So it wasn't just Jets fan hype. Like the team was legitimately supposed to be a playoff team, and just everything goes wrong. The amount of ways they find to lose games is just incredible. Is just incredible, you know, whether it be penalties on the last drive or drop pass. There's literally every single way. You know, Malachi Corley, even though we won that game, but I'm sitting there on Halloween and he drops the ball before it gets into the end zone. Just like absolute, absurdity. I don't think I've done a stream since like October 17th. It's almost been like a month and a half. Again, I do plan on being back every week. I'm going to start evaluating some draft prospects. I want to see exactly where the Jets finish. You know, if they finish with 12. With a 12th pick, it's going to be a little bit different than evaluating the draft prospects if they finish at like 6. So I have a few names that if they do finish in the top 7, 8, I'm going to I have those guys kind of ready and set, and I'll evaluate them. But there's like, to me, it just feels like there's no point of evaluating film because one, it's just so bad. And two, everybody's gonna be gone next year. So what's the point? Like, I'm not evaluating, Rodgers for any reason or any of these guys. Like, I get there's importance to evaluating, Fashanu and Tittman and all that stuff. And maybe it's a little bit of a sob story, but it's just like, it's crazy, man. I've been doing this I've been podcasting since 2014. So it's been 10 years of podcasting. I've probably been breaking down film for about like 7 or 8 years. And again, this year is supposed to be different, and you kind of get through all those shitty years. And last year was supposed to be the year, okay, it's different. Obviously, the Achilles happens. You still win 7 games. You assume with a top 10-ish level quarterback, obviously he is not that. He's not what we expect him to be. That the Jets would be pretty damn good. And they're going to finish worse than they have in the last couple of years, with Zach Wilson. Like, they're not getting 7 wins. It's just absolutely wild. Tyron Smith looks like he goes from like a Hall of Fame level player, looking elite last year at the Cowboys, I don't care what anybody says, to looking like absolute trash for the most part for the Jets. And we'll go through the entire roster of like what's been going wrong with quarterback and running back and kind of what I've been thinking about these guys, because I don't necessarily want to go through each individual game. But yeah, I'm sorry. It was just a thing where like, going to the games, seeing the losses after all these years, I was just disheartened. I'm like, do I even want to do this shit anymore? Like, it's just been so bad. But it'll all be worth it in 25 years when they eventually do win. But let me say hello to some people. Again, I'm sorry for bailing. I know there's some people, Matt and MM and Rich and a bunch of guys who like listen to this religiously every week. So I feel like I disappointed those people, but it is what it is. I'm back. Hopefully you'll be back with me. What's up to Matt? MM, what's up, dude? Again, I missed a lot of you guys. I miss talking football. It was just again a wild couple of weeks with the Jets. Like, you go from, let's say, Steelers game, they were up. I have a schedule in front of me, obviously. Steelers game, they were up 15-9, right before half. You think they're going to drive and get a field goal, make it 18-9, or maybe even get a touchdown there. Aaron Rodgers throws a pick. And then right after halftime, you have a ball that bounces off of Garrett Wilson's chest for, I forget if it was a pick 6 or nearly a pick 6. The Steelers scored after it anyway. The Pats game, you lose 25-22. This vaunted defense, has one chance to stop Jacoby Brissett from driving the field like 80 yards, and he methodically drives the ball down their throats for a touchdown at the last second. You lose that game. Obviously, they beat the Texans. Cardinals 31-6, which is just hilarious because the last time I was there, I think the Jets lost like 28-6 or whatever that score was. Miserable game to be at. Travel all the way to Arizona. I think they let up like 3 touchdowns the first 3 drives, and the only reason they didn't let up a 4th touchdown in a row was because it was halftime and they kicked the field goal. I believe it was like 24-3 or whatever it was at halftime. Absolutely brutal. You have the Colts game. What even happened in the Colts game that was wild? There's a few things in the Colts game. One, they can't tackle. It's been absolutely brutal. That game I remember specifically. The Jets score back-to-back drives. They score a touchdown and a field goal, and every single time the Jets score, the Jets defense cannot hold up every single time. They cannot respond to anything. They cannot, like, in a big situation trying to get the offense, the momentum rolling. They immediately allow it to crash and burn. They score 10 points in a row, but of course they allow 2 touchdowns back to back to Anthony Richardson, who is a Hall of Fame level quarterback. They lose that game. Seahawks game, last week, you have Devontae dropping deep balls a little bit over his head. You got, Garrett Wilson missed wide open in the end zone, which I could, it's a bad throw by Rodgers. You could also argue you want to see Garrett track that a little bit better. He also misses Garrett on like the first or second play of the game deep. Does not put enough air under the ball. Garrett Wilson could attack it better, but still, like, just brutal. And then I don't know how many penalties they had that fourth quarter. It was like 6 or some shit, like just absolutely wild. But yeah, no, it's just been miserable. And I get that, Jets fans don't even want to hear. Like, I used to listen to Jets podcasts. I used to listen to Ryan and Tyson and some of these guys. And I went from listening to some of that to I've been completely unplugged, listening to literally zero. I deleted every podcast, Jets podcast I used to listen to like Theo Vaughn and Tim Dillon and whoever else. Now I just found new stuff to listen to and kind of new hobbies, because I don't want to hear about the Jets. So I get people not being overly, interested right now, but the diehards will be here. Again, I'm back and we'll ride this out together until, again, they win a Super Bowl in 2047 or something like that. And there's some ways you could look at it, right? Like, you could be and we tend to be negative, right? And it's not, Jets fans are just negative for no reason. Like, we've seen absolute shit for the last, 15 years of our lives. But you could look at it negatively and say, hey, if they're going to get a new coach, new GM, they're all going to suck. Sauce will get traded. Garrett will get traded. Brees will get traded, all this stuff, and we'll have nothing again. Or you can look at it positively and be like, hey, at a certain point, it's everybody's time. We could talk about Woody Johnson, but, everybody kind of has their time. And the Jets team does have talent, undoubtedly. If you could see the look at the Commanders roster, Son, Jaden Daniels, like, the Jets are more talented than that, at least in my opinion. So the Jets have pieces. Like, you have Tippmann, you have Fashanu. We'll see if ABT is re-signed. I'm assuming he would. Like, he's, pretty, obviously a pretty talented lineman. Can you get Morgan Moses back? They got some pieces on defense. You got Quincy, you got Sherwood. You have Q, you have JJ coming back after an Achilles. We'll see how he is. You have McDonald. Like, this is not a barren roster. This is not the 2020 Jets, 2021 Jets when Frank Gore is your lead running back, even though I would argue that Brees Hall has been more maybe average than some people think this year. I don't know how you guys have been talking about him in the last 2 months, but Brees went from, in my opinion, being a guy who would be a top 3 running back this year to being pretty average. Like, his explosion numbers are down. How often do you see Brees break tackles? Not often at all. So I think Brees, out of those, you talk about the big 4 of Brees, JJ, Garrett, and Sauce. I think Brees is most likely to go. And then, JJ is a huge question mark, because how does he recover off the Achilles? Sauce has obviously had his problems this year. His tackling has been just atrocious, not even because he's tall and lanky. Lack of effort has been frustrating to see. I'm a big effort guy, I'm a big safety guy. I like big safeties who hit guys and stuff. So a guy kind of shying away from tackles isn't necessarily my cup of tea. So that really pisses me off. I think maybe some people are probably overstating how bad he's been this year. His coverage numbers are still pretty good, and he's been pretty good in coverage, but the tackling has been bad. And I'm not saying he's been what he has been the first 2 years. I just don't think he's a scrub now. Like, he's still a really good number 1 corner, a little bit down a year, but still a good player. Garrett, he had a couple of good games in a row. I think Garrett has more so looked like a low end number 1 to a really high end number 2. He's getting open, and maybe that's a little bit of discrediting him too, right? Because he was wide open on that fade. He was wide open down the left sideline. So I think he's been, let me readjust that. I think he's been like a mid-tier number 1, where I expected him to be like near the top 5. So he's been a little bit disappointing, but still good. There are still some things that Garrett undoubtedly has to work on when you're watching him. One, his discipline in route running, whether it be like running a dig or a slant and cutting it flat. If there's a guy behind him, he tends to take it upfield, which allows the corner to undercut the route, which is not ideal. He has to stop sliding when he catches the ball. That's one thing that he's been doing a ton, and maybe less so recently, but just sliding when he catches the ball has been a little bit frustrating. And in terms of winning vertical balls, he undoubtedly needs to attack the ball better. Like that ball that was, with Rodgers, where Rodgers underthrew it. Like at the end of the day, Garrett still should have attacked that ball better. Like he wanted to fall in the breadbasket, but when you have the corner there, you got to attack it. So he didn't do that. And then obviously the ball was, deflected. I'm going to say hello to some people in the chat. I just want to do something on my side that you guys cannot see. In a little bit, I'm going to give away some memberships because I owe you guys something, right? It's been quite a while. So I'm going to drop some memberships in a second. Okay, let's see. All right. Let me say hello to some people in the chat before I get into all of this on my side, because it usually is slow and shitty and I am kind of rusty. But what's up, dude? Paul Noble, you could tell who are real long-time Jet fans based on, and again, there's so much stuff to talk about that it's like hard to even kind of wrap my head around how to go about this in like a nuanced way. But yeah, like you have a shitty stadium. It rains every freaking time you go there. Shitty security in terms of like how much there is in terms of getting in there in a quick way. You have a guy who, after a blown out Achilles for Aaron Rodgers, raises season tickets, and then we start sucking early on this year, and he raises season tickets again and demands the money early. It's like, what are you doing? You had the Swifty thing last year. Yeah, you have him. And how much do we believe Diana Rossini and the Athletic? Like, they clearly have an agenda. I think some of the stuff they put out a couple of weeks ago is probably true about Woody Johnson, but him meddling is not good because, obviously when Joe Douglas was hired, the whole thing was like he wanted to not be interfered with. And now you have some clear examples of Woody interfering, firing Saleh maybe a little bit too early, even though I think that's a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking. But he's undoubtedly involved. And if you have guys out there who are hearing about this, is this a less attractive job? And I would argue that it is because of Woody Johnson. I don't think he's like a neutral guy. Like, okay, whatever, it's the owner. Or I don't think it's like a great owner. I think he's probably a negative when you're looking at, the Jets coaching, or hiring a GM or coach. I'm sure they're going to account for that. But yeah, just like your fans have been through so much shit the last couple of years, you'd think that you'd allow them to enjoy a year or two of regular season ticket prices instead of raising them and then asking for it early. Like just so tone deaf. Just the shit he puts out on Twitter. It's just, he's really frustrating. He is. And, as the graphic on the stream said, like, I would prefer him to sell the team. Like, I really would now. Will he? No, he won't, most likely. I wish he would, to Vandercheck, or I heard some rumors about Elon Musk. Like, sure, I'd rather have Elon Musk than Woody Johnson. But yeah, he's been brutal too. I'm not going to say he's blamed first. It's just like, you need a certain culture, man. Like, it doesn't, and I remember Kyle Smith, when he did the podcast, him and I used to talk about this all the time. He was, I would say, less so interested in like the chemistry and stuff of the team, and kind of like the chemistry of the team and like the overall feel of the organization and winning culture and stuff like that. He was less tapped into that than I was. I would say I valued that more than him. And look at this team, man. Like, you got a ton of talent. You got 2 number 1 receivers. You got at least a decent running back. I'm not going to call him a superstar anymore. He has to prove it more to me. Upcoming to me for me to call him a superstar anymore. I think he's been kind of average. But like, you have plenty of talent where you should not be 3-9, like, just brutal. Now you have a 5-point loss, a 1-point loss, a 3-point loss, a 3-point loss, a 6-point loss to the Vikings where he threw Rodgers threw a pick on the last play of the game, a 1-point loss to the Broncos. Like, plenty of games that they're in. But to me, like, again, that environment matters. Coaching matters, so it's been a while. Yeah, Chris, again, I'm sorry. I've been doing this for a while, and I really expected at least a solid year. And then them just losing heartbreaking game after heartbreaking game because of their own, problems, whether it be, again, penalties, coaching. Again, you have Ulbrich, who's both the head coach and DC. Like, good luck, dude. Head coach and DC. Have fun with all those responsibilities. Just absolutely brutal. Yeah, it's been so bad. Carfox, this is not on Woody. It's his brother, Christopher Johnson. 4 years. Woody was not even here. He's getting all the blame. Yeah, again, it's like he's clearly meddling, right? Like, I don't know how much to do, I don't know if I agree with everything or I believe everything that the Athletic says, because, again, they clearly have a bias, but you don't want a guy who is, I don't know if him asking to bench Rodgers after the Denver Broncos game was correct, or, did he trade for Devontae Adams, or was he the one that, kind of headed signing, Hassan Reddick or whatever it might have been. But, actually, speaking of the defensive line, remember people who told me I was crazy for telling people that Javon Kinlaw was going to suck a little bit for the Jets? Oh, dude, he's a monster. He's a top 5 pick, whatever he was. I'm like, dude, he was not good with the Niners. They should have re-signed Quentin Jefferson. And Kinlaw sucks, right? He's not very good. You and Frankie from Flatbush making a comeback. I don't know how long Frankie was out for. I was out for a month and a half, so it's like a slight comeback. Yeah, I wasn't really like I was never at a spot where I was going to be gone forever. I don't think. But I just needed a reset. And again, talking about Jets football every week for about 10 years now, I needed like a good month and a half, 2 months to just not talk about the Jets anymore. Like the Jets, you have the games, whether it be, I'm not going to factor in going to the games because you talk about I get picked up at 6:30 in the morning. I get home at 6:30 at night. You're talking about 12 hours right there of Jets football, evaluating it, doing film, doing the film show, doing the live streams. You're talking about, including the game, 25 to 30 hours a week of Jets football. Now, take out the game. Okay, you're still talking about 10, 15 hours of Jets football a week for me. It's been kind of nice the last 2 months to, sans the losing, but it's been nice to turn on the Jets for 3 hours and then completely shut off. That's what's been happening. I watch the game for 3 hours. That's it. I'm done. And sometimes, like, there's one time I was at my niece's birthday party during the Cardinals game. Obviously, they're getting their asses whooped, so it's not like something I had to pay attention to so much, but like there's some plays I wasn't even seeing. Like eating dinner, like, oh shit, look, they turned the ball over, or oh look, they didn't get the first down, or oh look, they punted again. Like I wasn't even paying attention during the Cardinals game, which has been wild because like I obviously care a lot, doing the stuff I do. And to not care to that extent just really says a lot about the franchise. It's at a really bad point. Marvin, what's up? Eagle. Another diehard. What's up, Joe? Do you think the Jets will get the GM? And I don't know, man. Like, based on past history, no. Like, probably not. Now, GM again. I don't know who anybody's talking about. I really don't. Like, I see some stuff on. Obviously, Jets X Factor will pop up on my. I get like a push notification when we put out an article and that stuff. And but like podcasts and stuff, I don't really know what people are talking about. I would say right now, off the top of my head, Ben Johnson's probably number one with what he's done with that Lions offense. Even though they do have quite a bit of talent, they have a stud offensive line, 2 really good running backs, a stud number 1 receiver, really good tight ends. So it's not like he's been doing it with a lack of talent. Like there's plenty of talent. So that's something you have to factor into Ben Johnson. But with that being said, he's probably tier 1 for me. I would say tier 2 for me is probably, and you guys throw out names too. I want to react to what some people have been saying because I really don't know what people have been saying. I know that tier 2 to me is probably a combination of, and I don't have a list of like 2 to 3 to 4. I would say just a clump of these 3 guys between Vrabel. You need a guy who can lead, disciplinarian who can lead this team. Builds a good culture, has put together some good offensive staffs in the past. Him, I would say Todd Monken. The thing about and the thing about Vrabel is, okay, the concern is he's a defensive guy, right? Okay. So going to Monken, okay, he's the offensive guy. I think he did a lot with the Bucs. I evaluated his offense then, 6 years ago. I forget exactly what I thought of the offense, but I know I liked it. So I think he runs a good offense. Obviously, he did a lot the last couple of years with Lamar Jackson, making him more of a consistent passer. I like him, but the question with him is like he's never been a head coach. Can he lead a team? I don't know. That's a question. That's why he's on tier 2. My third guy in that tier 2 is probably Flores. Now, I think what did he say? Like Stephen Ross was like racist or something like that. He got fired, whatever it may have been. But in terms of like him when he was a Dolphins coach, I thought his defenses were good. Obviously, he did a lot with the Vikings this year. Vikings defense creating a lot of turnovers, playing pretty well with what I'd argue a pretty untalented defense. In terms of like the individual players, disciplinarian. And when he was fired from the Dolphins, I was happy. Like I didn't love him being the coach because I thought he was a good coach. So I would say those are my tier 2 guys. Tier 3. I'm trying to think of like other names who could be out there. I've heard the Rex Ryan stuff. Can we stop? Can we fucking stop with the Rex Ryan stuff? It was 10 years ago. Let's cut the bullshit, please. Like, please, no more Rex Ryan talk. I don't want to do it. It would be fun for like a second, but do not forget that he absolutely destroyed the roster, like meddling in the GM decisions and shit, and drafting his friends, Seth's friends and shit like that. Do not want Rex Ryan. I've heard some of the Pete Carroll stuff. I wouldn't love it, to be honest. He hasn't been in the league in a couple of years. I was never impressed with his offenses. I know a lot of Seahawks fans didn't like the offenses that he employed, and I know he wasn't the OC there. I think he's more of like an oversight guy, unless I'm wrong. But it was a lot of like just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. So I'm not really a big Pete Carroll guy. So I would say, unless you guys throw out more names, and obviously there's gonna be a few names I can't think of off the top of my head, or just pull out kind of out of my ass right now. But those four guys, and Ben Johnson, number one. Gun to my head right now, my number two is probably Vrabel. My number three is probably Monken, and then Flores four. Like, gun to my head, I'd always have to evaluate a lot more, right? Like, that's just, again, off the top of my head, so don't hold that to me. But Ray said, this is by far the most unexpected season I've ever seen. So much hype and expectation to look like this. Wow, is all I could say. Not even sure what direction they're heading in. This is, yeah, dude, it is, right? Like, it's brutal. Again, it's not just Jets fan bias. It's not just us being like, oh, and 2022 or 2018, the Jets can win 10 games and get into the playoffs. Like, no, like Vegas had them at 9.5. A lot of people had them as a top 3 roster in the AFC. Like it was not just Jets fan hype. Like we bought in because we see the talent. You look at the individual players, they were all studs. But again, there's something to being a team. And obviously Rodgers has been playing like a bottom 10 quarterback. I expect a top 10 quarterback, but the accuracy hasn't been there. I'm not wanting to take hits. And I think Willie Colon said it. I think we hit it on Jets X Factor that, like he's missing guys and stuff like this. And then he's like throwing his hands up and like screaming after the play and stuff. Like he's too much, like, I don't know if bravado is the right word, but like he's talking like too much shit to the players for how he's playing. Like he's not, I don't think he's carrying himself the best. I think he's frustrated, and I think it's affecting the players. And you got to get rid of him after this year. Like, no more. Let's not. I don't know what the pulse of the fan base is, but to me, I believe it's $49 million that you could split between 2 years. If you get rid of him this year, you could take like one lump sum for $49 million in 2025, or it's like whatever it is, split between the 2 years. I think it's lesser next year and then more in 2026. But if you keep him next year, it's like $63 million dead money the 2 years after. I'd rather just take the $49 million hit next year. Take it all. Extend, Sauce, extend Garrett. I think that's what you probably do. You put the 5th-year option on JJ because he still has to prove he is who he is after the Achilles. You can't just say, good faith here. So I think that's the priority. Re-sign Sherwood, re-sign a few guys, re-sign AVT. And depending on what the Jets do in the draft, I just thought about this the other day, by the way. Depending on what they do in the draft, like I know a lot of people want to get rid of Devontae. I forget exactly what his cap hit is. It's actually, I think it's pretty feasible. But do you keep Devontae if you have like a rookie quarterback? And the thing with the rookie quarterback is, and again, I'll get into I know there's like a D tackle up there high from Michigan. I forget what his name is. There's a couple of DNs. There's a corner. There's a receiver. I think those are the 5 guys I'm thinking about right now, plus a couple of the quarterbacks. The thing with the quarterback position is that I'm hearing, at least, is that it's not a strong year for quarterbacks. The problem is, considering, let's say Vrabel comes in and he's actually a good head coach and he can lead the team to, whatever it may be, 8-9 wins next year, 7-8-9 wins. And the Jets are sitting at 15-16, whereas this year they're going to be, let's say, the 5th, 6th pick. Do you take the quarterback this year in a worse class, or do you hope that what happens next year? Like you have Tyrod, Jordan, Travis, and maybe another mid-round quarterback competing. But what happens if Tyrod leads you to 8 wins? There's only 1 or 2 quarterbacks that go number 1 and 2. What do you do at quarterback then? Do you just sit in limbo, not with a quarterback, or do you take the risk this year? If they take the risk this year, I could see them keeping Devontae, because then you have Devontae and Garrett for a rookie quarterback coming in. Like, hey, welcome to the NFL. This is about the best talent you're ever going to have. So and I'll look at the cap hits later and we could talk about that. I'm not sure exactly what they are with Devontae. Let me do some. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Go through the chat still. But yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation with Devontae. Okay, I'm going to keep scrolling up. Okay. My preference is an offensive-minded coach that can raise a young QB that can manage the game in clutch moments. Offensive-minded coaches. Yeah, I'd rather have an offensive coach. The problem is, who is it? Like at the end of the day, you do need a leader. You need a leader of men. Either defensive coaches who are successful in the NFL. Look at Dan Quinn with the Commanders right now. Young quarterback, they're killing it. Look at D'Amico with the Texans. Killing it. Obviously, Harbaugh is more of an overseer. Tomlin's an overseer. He's not an offensive guy. So you could be successful but you need the right culture. So I prioritize culture, offense, and then obviously defense. But I prefer offense over defense, if that makes sense. But culture is number one for me. So if Ben Johnson's my number one, but if they get Vrabel over Monken, like, I'm not going to lose my shit, because I think they need leadership at the end of the day. They do have some talent. We need the right coach. Yeah, no, undoubtedly, right? Like, they have talent. Again, some guys have disappointed. Kinlaw didn't. I'm not going to say disappointed me, because I thought he was going to suck the entire time. Nonetheless, but I'd say Brees is definitely disappointed. Like, if they got rid of him, I wouldn't be like, just watch other running backs. Look at Pacheco. Look at Gibbs. Look at Montgomery. Like, what is Brees doing better than those guys? I rarely see Brees break tackles. He's been very mid this year, and that's just being honest. The first 2 years, he was studly. My concern with him, and I did reviews of him, was that it was all based on big runs. It wasn't down to down. So, the consistency wasn't necessarily there. But on the plus side, Will McDonald and Olu are pretty good. Yeah, Will McDonald, I think he's been good. I don't think he's been great. I think some of the sacks have been a little bit wonky, especially the first 5 or 6 during the year. But last, two against the was it the Colts, or the last game they played were pretty good sacks. Olu, what was it? 42 pass block snaps, zero pressures allowed. Olu has looked pretty good. So I think your offensive line, like you're talking about, Olu, Simpson's on a 2-year contract. Correct me if I'm wrong. Simpson's played well this year, above expectation, I think, for most fans. Even though I'd say Nania being the lead of the Simpson train, and me probably being second, we thought he was gonna be pretty good, but he's been solid. You have Tippmann, you have ABT, you have Morgan Moses. Like, that could be your offensive line next year. Just bring those guys back, and I think it's a solid offensive line. I think Rodgers makes it look worse than it is at times, because he's just not mobile at all. He kind of just falls into sacks. But Brees has fallen off. Sauce also. Brees definitely. Sauce, yes, more so tackling. The cover. I think he's also been injured. I really, really do. And Sauce, and I've been saying it for so long. He'll tweak guys' techniques and stuff like that, but his feet are so narrow at the snap that every single snap, you notice he has to catch his feet, or he jump splits. And you don't want to do that when you jump split. You tend to go back onto your heels because a guy's moving at you. And then he's playing catch up from there. Sauce has to get more knee bend and more width at his base when he's in press. He has to. And I don't know how NFL coaches don't teach people that. Maybe it's just a comfort thing. I don't know, because, and it's not just me, random dude on YouTube saying it. I broke down plenty of film with Marcus Coleman, who's a corner in the NFL. And he taught me a lot of stuff, and we feel the same way about how to play corner and stuff like that. And his base being so narrow and him standing up so tall it's not a recipe for success. So he's always playing catch up. So that's got to get fixed. But I still think he's been a good number one corner, whereas before he was obviously an elite number one. I think he can bounce back. Brees, man, I don't know. I saw Bilal Powell be more impressive in some games behind a worse offensive line. I'm being real. Bilal Powell broke tackles. Brees, if he doesn't have the explosion, what has he been doing? I don't know. The last time I saw him break a tackle was. I don't know, man. I don't know. Welcome back, Joe. What's up, my own mind? Again, I'm sorry for being MIA. Wasn't working right now. Hope that all is out. Yeah, man. Mike, listen back, but I had everything's been going good. The only downside my last couple of months is quick me story. I got a kidney stone. Went to the hospital for it. Was in excruciating pain the one day, and then they went to get it last Friday. They couldn't get it. Apparently my ureter is too tight, so they had to go into there for 2 hours, couldn't get it. So I might have to get another two procedures. And oh my God, just the 2 things after the surgery or procedure is it hurts so bad to pee the next 3 days after. And then if I held my bladder at all, I waited to pee, or I got up from an 8-hour sleep or 6-hour sleep, it felt like somebody punched me in the kidney. So that's been the only downside, but everything else has been going well. Kid's good, house is good, whatever. I could deal with a kidney stone. But yeah, that's the only downside right now. That sucks. So next Friday, I got to go in again for another procedure, and then hopefully they can get it all. If they can't, I got to go in again. But having a tube up there for 2 hours wiggling around apparently doesn't sit well. It hurts. It hurts after. Beloved peace. I can't blame you. The Steelers game broke me. I haven't watched many. Oh yeah, I'll always watch the games no matter what. If they were 0-17, I would watch undoubtedly. But yeah, man, I've been doing film stuff for 8 years. You talk about, like 38, 40 reviews I do in off season. Every single game, Jets players, free agent guys, draft guys. I couldn't care less about film right now. I could not care less. Like, I would like to go back, and I probably will at a certain point. I'll go back and I'll watch the guys like Olu, and I'll watch Will McDonald, and I'll watch whoever else probably in the off season. But right now during the season, I could not care less. I couldn't care less. And I've been, and it's hard to watch them in the moment and say, hey, I want them to lose. But before the game, I want them to lose every game at this point. Like, what is the point? And the only upside to winning to me is, hey, like, obviously Breece and Garrett and all these guys and Sauce, like, they've been experiencing losing for so long. So you don't want to like break them mentally. That's the concern. But for the long-term benefit of the franchise, like last year, like winning that last game against the Pats, you're talking about the difference of drafting Malik Neighbors versus Olu. And Olu is great, but Malik Neighbors is great. But nonetheless, like, you rather have the highest pick. You're talking about maybe being able to draft a top 3 quarterback this year versus drafting a D tackle because we're at 7 because we want an extra win instead of being at 3. Like, for the long-term success of the franchise, I don't want to say rooting for losses, because I'm watching a game, I'm not like, oh yeah, they lit up a touchdown, awesome. But before a game, if I had to fill out a bubble, do they lose or win? What's better? I'm putting lose. Like, you want them to lose games for a higher draft pick, and I get certain people can't root like that, but who gives a shit if this team loses? Really, like, they've been so embarrassing. What does it even matter at this point? Lose the next 5, win 3 games, have a top 3 pick. If you want a quarterback, great. If somebody else wants a quarterback and want to trade back, fine. If there's a stud there, you fall number 1 and Travis Hunter's there, okay, like, fine. Whatever it may be. But losses is the best thing for the future, minus the mental headspace your young guys are in, which is the only thing. Like, I would like to see Sauce and Garrett and stuff win. I think Garrett's going to be here next year. If this next year does not work out with Garrett, he doesn't see what he wants from the franchise, I think Garrett will be the one to request a trade. And then Sauce may be the only kind of survivor from that draft class. Like, what happens if JJ comes back and he's no explosion? Might take a year or 2. My guy Jan, selling the team does nothing unless the new owner can hire the right people. All the Jets owners have pretty much sucked. Goody's first 10 years were actually pretty good. Yeah, Woody's. Like, the thing with Woody, again, I don't like that he meddles as much as he does. But with that being said, and listen, like, you go to games, Jan, like, you know what it is. Like, getting out of the stadium sucks. Getting into the stadium sucks. The stadium sucks itself. The fact that he raised the season ticket prices after Rodgers blew out his Achilles is an absolute disgrace. So there are some things that are terrible with Woody Johnson. Do I think that he is the primary reason that they always lose? No, I don't. Do I think they can win under him? Yeah, like, listen, he shells out money, but I prefer another owner. I just don't like him. Do I think that they can never win with Woody Johnson as the owner? I don't think that's true, though, either. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Garrett is fine. Yeah, no, he's been fine. Again, just maybe not top 5, top 15, top 20. Okay. Jets had a good week of practice, though. Yeah, I don't listen to what they say. I don't listen to the interviews. I don't listen to any of that shit anymore. I just can't. I just can't. I'm really going to be more, I don't know if like cynical is the right word, but it's just a thing where like they really have to prove it to me. I'm just not going to buy into the hype until they actually do it on the field, because you can have all the great practices, you can have all the great talent, you can have all the great one jet drives and all this shit, but until they actually win games, that's when we should buy in, because they need to prove it. Because again, this year was supposed to be a playoff team, and they're going to win 4 games. Like, I think they're playing Mac Jones in Jacksonville next week, so I think they probably win that game. They probably finish at 4-13. But what are the last 5? It's Dolphins twice, Bills, Jags, and Rams, right? I think they probably only win the Jags game. They hopefully they find a way to lose that game though too, but 4 wins, you're probably a top 5 pick. I don't know. But yeah, Rob D, what is up, dude? What's good, Joe? Professionally certified hater. What's up, dude? Dom C isn't here. Joe, when is draft prep? So Dom said, I'll actually Dom DM me, because I put out a tweet like, hey, can anybody tell me like who's the top of the draft class? Because I'm not the biggest college football fan. And specifically when the Jets suck, like it's hard for me when the Jets suck to even watch other football. And I will for like fantasy purposes, and I like football in general, but like I don't watch a lot of stuff. But when the Jets really, really suck, I could not care less about college football. I just really don't. So what names did you give me, Dom? Let's see what names you gave me. Mason Graham, D tackle, Michigan. Abdul Carter, edge, Penn State. Nick Scarton, edge, Texas A&M, Michael Williams, edge, Georgia, and Will Johnson, quarterback, Michigan. And then I know there's a couple of guys at the top with quarterbacks and stuff like that. So those are the guys I'll probably evaluate. The thing I kind of said to start the stream off, Dom, was like, I want to see exactly where they finish, because I don't want them to win 2 games and then have the 12th pick in the draft and evaluate a guy who's going to be a top 5 pick. So I don't want to waste my time. So I'm going to wait another week or 2 to see where they're kind of trending, specifically after the Jaguars game. And then that's what I'll start evaluating. And the thing too with, like, I believe the edge, is it from Penn State? Abdul Carter is like the hybrid, probably like a 3-4 outside linebacker. I believe, at least I don't know his measurements or anything like that. That's kind of what I saw about him. Do I want to evaluate that guy before I know what the Jets coaching staff is going to run? Like, do I want to evaluate a 3-4 end when the Jets are on a 4-3? So there's some nuance to it. If the guy's like Mason Graham, okay, fit in any system, maybe we'll see. But I want to evaluate the guys who are kind of not scheme specific first. And then once the coaching staff is hired, then okay, figure it out from there. But I'll probably wait a few weeks, and then I'm going to dive headfirst into the draft stuff, because I like to talk, the benefit of being a Jets evaluating for the Jets is, like, the Jets always pick high. So you don't have the biggest pool of players. When they pick top 5, I can kind of narrow it down to like 8 guys instead of them drafting at 20, where there's 20 different possibilities of that pick. Them finishing high in the draft order is actually beneficial for me, because I don't have to do as much. So I'm going to kind of wait to see where they finish before I really, really dive into it. But soon, within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start the draft prep. I'll get all those guys done. I'm sure. I don't know if he'll be back on with you, Dom, this offseason. I know we did a whole thing with the offensive lineman, with the guy who played college offensive lineman. I forget his name. I apologize, but that was a fun show. So maybe we'll hook up again. We need to bring an experienced head coach to bring a culture. Yeah, that's my thing too. Like, so that's the thing with Ben Johnson and Monken is like, okay, they're not head coaches. They're under great head coaches, right? Like, undoubtedly, at this point, Dan Campbell's a good head coach. Ben Johnson, how much does he benefit for him? Obviously, it's hard to say exactly how much, but he's with a really good head coach. Monken with a really good head coach. So while they may be good offensive minds, how do they lead a team? And we know that leadership is important at this point. Whereas, okay, you have 2 guys who are offensive, but with lack of or question marks about their leadership. Whereas you go, flip side of the coin to Flores, which I guess questionable leadership, right? Whatever happened there. And I guess he kind of beefed with Tua a little bit. And Vrabel, they're not offensive guys, but are they more like proven, kind of tough guy as leaders? Yeah. So that's kind of the nuance of the conversation and the pickle we're in. But really, any one of those 4 guys, I would like. Ben Johnson being number 1. Again, I do not want to overlook the fact that he has a ton of talent on that team. Again, it's not like he's working with the, whatever. Let's even say the Commanders. Like, the Commanders don't have a ton of talent on the team, at least not comparatively to the Lions. So that's something you have to factor in. They have Penny Sewell, they have St. Brown, they have Laporta, right? They have Montgomery, they have Gibbs. Like, they have guys. They have Goff, who's a mid quarterback, but still that's good enough when you have a stud running game and really good weapons. So I don't want to overlook the fact. I don't think Ben Johnson he's absolutely unequivocally going to hit. I don't believe that's I don't think there's a candidate that exists that's a can't miss guy, really. So I have more maybe questions about Ben Johnson than some others do, at least like little tiny, maybe not red flags, but yellow flags. But he'd still be my preference, and then again, those Flores, Vrabel, and Monken being probably tier 2, again, throughout names, early in the chat. I always am. I honestly didn't know if I was going to have a lot of chats. Seemingly I am, though. That's awesome. I appreciate you guys as always. Coming back after like 7 weeks off. Okay. Knowing they'll hire a head coach in the lines of Jason Garrett, Arthur Smith. Oh my God. Yeah. If they hire Nagy, Jason Garrett, Arthur Smith, if Mike McCarthy's fired and they hire him, I didn't want him last time, Mike McCarthy. A lot of guys did, and obviously I'd rather have him over Gase, but still, yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not to any one of those guys. The Bears coach is Nagy. Let's see. I'm with you. Please sell the team. Yeah, I would prefer it. Again, I don't think it's a thing where, like, listen, they had some good years at Pennington. They had 2009, 2010, with Woody. Like, I don't think he's the only reason they're losing. I don't like him meddling, but Rob D. Vrabel's my number 1. He may not have the highest ceiling like a Ben Johnson, but at we can be competent and change the culture. Yeah, and again, like, hey, listen, if you change the like the thing with Ben Johnson is he could be a great offensive mind, but if he doesn't change the culture, then is it all for naught? Like, there's a situation where Vrabel is more successful than Ben Johnson. Like, it's not an absolute slam dunk that Ben Johnson is the better coach. And if anybody's telling you that, I think they're bullshitting you because he hasn't done it before. You don't know. You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea. Okay, let's see. Bigger fish to fry, Elon Musk. Yeah, quite a bit, right? Rockets, Mars, government now, all that stuff. Okay, let's see. Curly, what's up, dude? Good to see you. What do you think this franchise won't be proud? I don't know, man. I really don't. Like I said on Twitter, like I wish the Jets can just kind of like sim the next 4 years and see where we're at. I'm being cynical there. Like there's let's say there's a situation where they get, Jaden Daniels 2.0 in this draft. They have more talent than the Commanders and they go to the playoffs next year. Like that's a possibility based on our history. Am I going to say, am I confident in that? Absolutely not. Like, I think it's smarter to probably err on the side of caution. Thinking he's overrated. Yeah, I saw that quote. Just wild. Arguably Chris Johnson is better than Woody. I don't know, whatever. Totally agree with your take. Talent is a little overrated and Rodgers is a shell of himself. Also, the team lacks accountability. Dude, the penalties pre-snap, post-snap, the tackling has been atrocious. They missed so many fucking tackles. And then I think during the Steelers game, at a certain point, and I don't know where they fall now. I haven't been into the stats and stuff, but during the Steelers game, it was like the Jets at this point in the season are the 5th highest in NFL history in penalties. Like what? They can't tackle. The defense can't hold up in big situations. The amount of penalties, the amount of drops, the amount of miscommunications on the offensive line at first, like just so bad. Just so bad. Matt says, we made a big mistake breaking up that. Well, there's people who were saying that before, but then I got criticized. Oh, Kinlaw is going to be great, Joe. You just wait and see, you idiot. Okay. Do we still like Kinlaw? Is there anybody out there who still likes Kinlaw? I don't think so. Not to mention the field. Yeah. See, he's gonna be gone next year, though, most likely, right? He's obviously had an injury. What's his contract though? Like, what is his CJ Mosley contract OTC? I don't know how they like if they get out of it next year, how that looks. I put up. I Google CJ Mosley and it gives me an interior defensive lineman. Okay. So cap hit next year is 12 million. Oh, it doesn't get this. Okay, so this website's not as good as dead cap 7.6. So they save like 5 and 7 dead if he's gone next year. I think that's what it seems like. No, dead cap is 16 next year. I don't even know. Rivka, where are you at? Preferably get rid of CJ. I'm sorry, like leadership and all that stuff, but rebuild. Quincy and Sherwood. Quincy's in his next year. He's in his last year of his 3-year deal, so you re-sign him after that. But I think it's Quincy and Sherwood as the future. Mosley is 32 years old. Clearly has lost a step as well. Q needs something next to him. He needs something, that's for sure. Kinlaw is absolute booty. Penalties, just a bunch of stuff. And can Will McDonald? Like I love Will. Will McDonald's been doing great this year. Can we stop lining up in the neutral zone? Like what are we doing here? You're looking at the ball. You can't tell if you're offsides. How is that happening? Rob D. We know Ben Johnson's a good OC. We don't know if he's a good head coach. Dude, exactly. I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you, Rob. He could be just as big of a miss as he is a hit. You have no idea. What if he's not a leader of men? That's important. It's more important to me than some other people, but he's under a great head coach. He has to worry about one thing. That's the offense. What happens? You have to worry about the offense and the team. It's a lot on a guy's plate. Ask Ulrich. So Floor is also bashed to it. Yeah, I want to look more into exactly what happened with that, but not ideal, right? Not ideal. And he's my fourth of the 4 options that I would be okay with. But it might even be like Ben Johnson, tier 1, tier 2 is Vrabel and Monken, and then he's like tier 3. But he's my 4th out of the 4, undoubtedly. I kind of flip-flop between who I'd want between Vrabel and Monken. Probably Vrabel, but he's my 4th for those type of reasons. Flores is a great choice. You know, the Jets will play real hard against the Dolphins. Yeah, well, we haven't beat the Dolphins since 2013 in Miami, I believe, with Geno, right? Was that the game where the first pass was like a bomb or perfect pass rating game? I think it was, right? Okay. Flores, didn't he brought the Dolphins to the playoffs, right? Like, I don't, with how I would argue not an overly talented team. I think you can win with him. I don't think it's impossible. And a lot of guys, like in their second run, they're better. You know, look at again Dan Campbell, or not Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn with the Commanders. It's another name I saw. I read somewhere that Aaron Glenn, when he retired from the Jets, he's mentored by Parcells first. Yeah, like sure, but he's a DC for the Lions. Do I want a DC from the line? I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I think people like Aaron Glenn more because he was a former Jet. I would not be thrilled if Aaron Glenn was a coach of the Jets. And maybe if after looking into their defense and stuff, I would be a little bit more encouraged. But to me right now, with admittedly having a lack of information, I'm not signing the dotted line for Aaron Glenn right now. I would not be thrilled with that. Yeah, Aaron Glenn makes the most sense if we're continue the Jets reality TV show. It's Rex Ryan. Like, what are people talking about? The guy hasn't been a coach for 10 years in the NFL, and clearly like tanked the franchise at a certain point. Why? It's like the stupid fucking WFAN shit that people like. Just stop, And I get like Jets content creators or whatever. Like they have to do content all the time and stuff. So we're talking about Rex Ryan, but can we cut the shit, dude? Please, Rex Ryan shit. It's just no. There's nothing else worth saying. No, just absolutely not. If he wants to be the DC, okay, no, but still no. But like maybe, but no, still. Jets are cursed. Yeah, no doubt. Team has no chemistry. You had fucking Davante Adams in his first game. He's like Brees had a long putt, like a long run. He's like the sideline is quiet. Like Davante was getting up in front of the team after the Steelers game or halftime the Steelers game. He's been here for 4 minutes. Like, come on, man. Yeah, so they need some chemistry, they need some leadership, apparently. Saleh was not that guy. Stupid cliches and crows flying on backs and whatever the fuck it was, like just so stupid. Rob saying that the league has passed Bill by. Being out of the league for years, for even a year or two is a big deal. Being out of the league for 10 years, we want Rex Ryan back? Come on, dude. Pete is GM is Pete's in, I don't want Pete Carroll either. He's in his 70s. Yeah, he's old. I don't want him. Would you want Davante back as part? Yeah, dude. Reduce the. No, why would he reduce the deal for the Jets? Rodgers will be gone and all that stuff. But I don't think his cap hit is like wild next year, if I'm not mistaken. Davante Adams contract. I think they're stuck with like a lot of the dead money and shit, regardless. So, how much money did they save if they cut him next year? His cap number is $38 million. Dead money, they saved $29 million. Is that right? His salary is $38 million. If they hold on, that's pre-June 1st. Let's see post June 1st. Cap savings $36 million. If that's true, obviously get rid of him, right? Like I thought there was something like he could only make like he's gonna make like $12 million or some shit next year. Obviously, it seems like I'm wrong. So probably he's not back then. If it's really that much money. Anybody beside Ward and Sanders would need to sit a year. But even with Sanders, man, like all the drama with that guy and like his dad and all that shit, like, do I really want it? I don't know. I haven't watched him enough to be like, yeah, he's an absolute stud, but I haven't heard, like, when I hear about him and I do watch him a little bit, like I don't think he's like some slam dunk prospect, but he's gonna bring out at least a little bit of drama. So if you cut Adams, it's 8 million dead cap hit. Yeah. So no. Yeah. I thought it was like 12 million. Again, I've been completely unplugged on, like really unplugged. Let's see. Brees looks like a shell of his pre. Yeah, he does, Peter. I'm with you. He does. He looks like a mid running back. If I put Powell on the back of his on the back of his jersey right now, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Bilal Powell. Like it's really no. And I would argue that Bilal Powell when he was actually getting carries for the Jets is better than Brees right now. And that sounds crazy, but Bilal Powell broke tackles. Like look at what Bilal Powell did with like the 32nd ranked offensive line every year. Brees has not been impressive. It just is what it is. I'm not gonna hold back and be like, oh yeah, he's been great, just bad offensive line, whatever it is. He's not looked good. How's this gonna be better? Yeah, again, it's not really like hell. Like kidney stones are common between guys of like 30 to 40. I barely drink water for like 10 years of my life, and I realized that's a mistake. And It's just a kidney stone. So it hurts like a motherfucker, but it's not like my heart's bad or anything like that. I didn't pass it. I didn't pass it. It's still in there. Chris. So yeah. Been there. Ouch. Yeah, dude. I was just sitting there with my kid, or actually I was like going to like pick up his tray, and oh my God, that pain is it's wild, man. I couldn't breathe for like a good 3 hours. I went to the hospital. First dose of morphine, like took it from like a 9 to like a 8. And then the second dose of morphine took it from like an 8 to like a 5 or a 4. Like it was manageable. But the post-op kind of sucked too. Again, I didn't really expect it. I just like, I don't know if I was like drugged up a little bit, but I just went to, go to the bathroom, the piss, and woo, that hurt. So I'm not looking forward to doing that again, but I'd rather do that than being in excruciating pain. So yeah, Eagle. Rodgers had the ball in his hands last few minutes of the game against the Broncos. Yep. Vikings pick, Colts. Yep. Sack was it or whatever it was. Seahawks pick 6. That obviously wasn't the last drive. Pats and Bills. No, the Pats didn't have the ball last. I'm not counting the Pats. The Pats scored with like 2 seconds left, didn't they? Unless I'm mistaken. Again, I've been unplugged, but the Pats scored with like literally 2 seconds left. So I think it's only 4. I think there's actually 5 games, Eagle, but I think you're mistaken on the Patriots game. Broncos, Vikings, Colts, Bills, not Pats. Bills, not Pats there. But yes, you're right with 5. Just one wrong game. Again, UConn Jet. I'll be 1,000% honest. I don't know if it's because you're a UConn guy. I don't know where Garrett Nussmeier is from. I literally have no idea. This could be a completely made up name, but sure. I haven't heard about him. I don't know. Maybe he's a UConn guy and you're just a little bit biased, but I've never heard of him. I think new Matt says I always say Matthias. I don't know, so I just say Matt or Simon. So I apologize for that. You never correct me, but it is what it is. I think coaching has a lot to do with the way these players have looked. Brees, Sauce, and Garrett. Yeah, like discouraged, but still, I get that maybe with Garrett at certain, but there might be a little bit of a cop out, honestly, Matt, because like Garrett had those problems the first 2 years. Sauce had tackling issues the first 2 years, and I think he's hurt. Brees, the numbers are down. So is he running less hard because of this? I don't know. Blew it for new DC. I don't know if I want to do that, honestly. Like, I don't think I would be a successful defensive coordinator. I would really like to get into the receiver and corner positional room. At least, I'm not saying to coach. I would like to just sit there for a week and see what they say and what they're coaching and all that stuff, because that's where I'm the most confident in myself. I would love to do that. Like I don't know, in high school, college, like whatever it may be, like be a positional coach for receiver or DB. Like that's where I think like, okay, maybe I'd have some insight, because how Sauce is still standing with his feet 6 inches apart and pretty much straight with straight legs. I have no idea. I think that's unforgivable as a coach to teach that, because you're going to react to a guy coming at you. If you don't have a balanced base, you're going to get on your heels, and you're on your heels. You're not able to react as well, So I don't know. Most owners suck. Woody's terrible, but it's not true. There are 31 good owners, and Woody Johnson. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Peter. I don't think so either. I don't think Woody Johnson's like just some terrible owner that they cannot win with. He'll shell out money. And I think I think for the first 3-4 years of Douglas, he probably stayed out of it a little bit. He got panicked. He's getting old, and he's like, "Hey, we're sucking again. Let me make some moves." And he got a little bit hasty. I think that's true, but I don't think it's a thing where it's impossible to win with him. If the Jets beat the Steelers in the AFC Championship game in 2010, right? Sometimes I get 2009. They lost to the Colts in the conference championship, right? And then 10 was the Steelers. Sometimes I mix it up, but Did he prohibit them from winning a Super Bowl that year, or was Mark Sanchez disappointing as a quarterback? And the team didn't necessarily show up until the second half of that Steelers game. Like it's possible to win with Woody. I agree with you. I don't think he's the worst owner in the league. Like there's probably look at Khan or whatever his name is from the Jaguars. Like people have problems with their owners. It's just about really the concern with Woody Johnson is putting together the right staff and hiring the right people. Do I love that the Jets hired Mike Tannenbaum and then the 33rd team that lead the coaching search? Absolutely not. Like I'm not going to act like I'm encouraged by the 33rd team leading the search. I'm not. So they play the Dolphins. Yeah. Did I say the Jags this week? I know they played it. Yeah. It's Dolphins, Jags, Rams, Bills, Dolphins, or is it Bills, Rams, Dolphins? I think it's Rams, Bills, Dolphins, I believe. So reminds me of what Baker is now, weak QB class, but I'd draft that, no doubt. Yeah, I'm not going to sign up for Baker Mayfield as a top 5 pick, though. Yes, Joe, no more hype. Prove it. I said this at the end of the year, and they had it. Yeah, they got to prove it to me. Clueless coaching. Yep, I'm with you, Peter. The worst, man. It's just mind-boggling. And like at a certain point, like year after year after year of this team, you have the amount of penalties, the lack of discipline. And to a certain extent, like you're not going to go into the media and say, hey, Javon Kinlaw sucks ass. Like you're not going to say that. But to a certain point, like as well, he also will like overhype guys. Like Michael Clemens in the offseason, like overhyping this guy. Like Michael Clemens sucks. Like what are we doing here? So yeah, the coaching staff is absolutely clueless. They are. It's been brutal. It really, really has been brutal. I'll be very disappointed if they draft another pass rusher. Yeah, like hey, you're talking about I'm assuming that you're assuming that JJ is gonna be good when he comes back. If you have JJ and Will McDonald, is DN the hugest need in the world? No. Like would I prefer maybe the D tackle to them? Okay, yeah, because they have nothing at D tackle. Sans Q. But really I'd prefer like let's say I don't know if it's like a stud right tackle, you could get, that I'd prefer that probably to a D end. I prefer like a stud receiver to put alongside Garrett. I prefer a stud corner. I think Reed is gone after this year. I think Reed's been okay this year. Obviously quarterback, like I prefer some other things than D end, undoubtedly. I'm with you there. Tyler Warren, I can't tell you who he is. Tyson, like I really don't know. I'm not one of those guys like, oh yeah, I heard about him. I got to evaluate these guys before I say that stuff. If they lose the Jaguars game, start looking at QB. Yeah, Rob, that's the thing. Like if they lose the next 2, I think it's a thing where, again, tough spot, not a great class apparently, but when are you going to be in a spot to draft the quarterback this high? Because like the thing is, okay, let's say the quarterbacks at the top of this year's draft would be the 3 and 4 in next year's class. Okay. But you're not going to be in a spot to draft the number 1 or 2 next year based on the talent in this roster, in my opinion. So it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard spot. But if you have conviction in a quarterback, you got to grab him. Positive take: the Jets are solid young right tackle away from potentially starting 5. Yeah, and like at the end of the day, Peter, if they just bring back Morgan Moses, like he's a guy who I think is a good leader. He plays through injuries. I think he's been solid this year. Again, I haven't watched the last 7 games of like the actual film, but I think he's been solid. And if you have one vet piece in your offensive line, fine. Draft the guy in the 3rd, 4th round, develop him behind Morgan Moses. I'm cool with that. If you draft the guy, whoever it may be, let's say at pick 8, and he's your right tackle, okay, cool. Like I'm cool with either one, but yeah, that's a positive. Like there are positives to take away with this roster. The offensive line, Q, Reddick, or not Reddick. We'll see what happens with JJ, but JJ and McDonald and the linebacker duo and Sauce and Michael Carter, like they have good pieces. Garrett, they have some stuff here. That's why it's just mind-boggling. Like 3 games and they lose in every single day. You think after week 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, there's no way they could find a different way to lose, and then they do. It is crazy, dude. Flores, Rabel, that's probably my 2 and my 4. Ben Johnson being 1 and 3 being again Monken. I really liked what I watched of him with the Bucks, and then he just further proved it to me that he's a good OC or good offensive mind with what he's done with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So he's up there too, but I'm cool with either one of those names too, Peter. I am. We need an ass. Oh, like an ass of a coach, kind of the gentle parenting style of Saleh. I think you could win being a player's coach though too. Like I don't think there's necessarily one way of doing it, right? Because like people crushed Bowles and Saleh actually for being like not stoic, but like just like silent on the sideline, not really doing anything. Oh, they lose because of that. He sucks because of he doesn't really do much on the sideline. Whereas Bill Belichick does the same shit, but he won 6 Super Bowls. Pete Carroll is a guy who's more of like a gentle parenting style, and he won a Super Bowl. So I don't think there's one thing you absolutely need. It's just about having the right guy in the right formula. Like, there's not one way of doing it, in my opinion. What's worse, the Jet season or the Jet season? The Jet season. Kidney stone, it hurts. It definitely hurts. It definitely hurts. But this season, man, it really took the life out of me. It's why I had to take 2 months off. I could not talk about the Jets anymore. Not even texting people. I didn't go to the games. More because I couldn't really. They said, like, before the surgery, I couldn't drink and stuff. So I could go to a Jets game drunk. I'll have fun with my friends. If I can't go to the game, at least have a few beers. No way. I am not going sober to a Jets game. Johnson going to the Bears. Ben Johnson. I could see that. Kingsbury, tier 3. I wouldn't be thrilled with him. You're talking about a guy. Look at what he did with Texas A&M before he got to the Cardinals. He didn't do shit with Texas A&M. I think they were a losing team his last year. And they were considering firing him. I would not be a big fan of Kingsbury. Not be a big fan. Ben not coming. Flores Rabel. Okay, yeah, cool with that. Kinlaw stinks. Yes, he does. There was some guy who looks just like me saying that all offseason. People didn't want to believe it. Dion for head coach now. Talking about, again, the LOL Jets, the circus Jets. Bring him in and his son as quarterback. No, let's not do that. Cliff Kingsbury. He coached Williams at USC. Did he? Yeah, I don't follow college. I don't really know where he went after. Obviously he was let go by the Cardinals, but Peter says, I think from a Ross perspective, this GM head coach job is not that bad. It's way worse. No, for sure, Peter. Like, no doubt. Who do they have? Who were building blocks to start the year of the 2021 Jets? Q. Mosley was a good vet leader. That's about it. Like, really. Nothing at offensive line, nothing at running back, nothing at receiver. Q on defensive line, no DNs, no linebackers. Again, minus sounds again, older Mosley, no corners, no save, nothing. Literally Q and Mosley were the building blocks. Look at this. This team has talent. The problem, the downside is Woody. People hear about him meddling all these articles and stuff. So how does that work out? We'll see. But yeah, that's 100% factual, Peter. You can't argue that. You can't argue that differently. Vrabel brought in both Mike LaFleur and Arthur Smith as his first 2 OCs. Yeah, I said that before, Rob. It's a great point. Like, yeah, he's not an OC, but he consistently brings in at least good OCs. Now, we could talk about Keith Carter and how much of a shit offensive line coach he is and stuff like that. But in terms of the OCs hitting on LaFleur and Arthur, was it LaFleur? I know it's 2. Maybe LaFleur is the name. I wouldn't put my life on that, but if it is LaFleur, I know it was 2 who people reference as the good OCs, and Arthur Smith. Like, yeah, he can clearly build a decent staff at all as the OC. I'm not going to say the name, but I'll just call you stupid. I went to the Pittsburgh game and the Jets and Seahawks game 4 hours and 9 hours travel. Yeah, man. Like, I didn't even go. I didn't go to. I'm going to take the name off. I wish you'd change that. I don't. That's a little bit aggressive, but dude, like, I've been to so many games, away game, one home games. I've been a season ticket holder for I've been 100+ home games, and probably 95 of those 100 games have been losses. Going to Arizona a couple of years ago to watch them get waxed. Going to Buffalo in 2015 to see them get destroyed. I've been to so many bad games, whether it be flying to Dallas to see them get beat, whatever that score was. Just so we've been through so much bad. Dump Rodgers and Adams. Yeah, that's what they're gonna. That's what's gonna happen. Save almost $70 million on the cap, but Rodgers, if you take all the hit next year, is gonna be like $49 million dead in caps. You save a lot, but you also have a lot of dead. So I think in the first year of a coach, you bite the bullet, you get rid of all the dead money, all the freaking years of Tremaine Johnson and Laken Tomlinson, all these scrubs that we've, Carl Lawson that we've had who've been, hitting our dead cap. Get rid of it all. Take it all next year. Aaron Glenford, yeah, not the top of my list. I think if he wasn't an ex-Jets guy, people would have more issues with that. And like, he's a DC for the Lions, right? And obviously this isn't the only Lions schedule. Let's see how many points they have allowed each game this year. And again, this is not the be all end all. This is a pretty shallow argument against the guy, but like, have they been just shutting teams down in terms of scoring this year? I don't know. Rams 20 points, Bucks 20 points, Cardinals 13. Okay, Seahawks 29, Cowboys 9. But I don't know if Cooper Rush was playing in that game. Vikings 29, Texans 23. Bears 20. Like, is he some like great DC? I don't think so. So yeah, I would not be thrilled with Aaron Glenn. I'm not gonna lie. It's not what I want. Tua was trash, just like Flores said. Even if he was right, even if he was like right, and again, I don't remember the exact quote was from him. Even if he was right about it, it's just not something you say in the media, right? So it's not about being right or wrong. It's about being wrong in saying it in public. A lot of people are like, oh, Sean Payton was right about Hackett. Like, yeah, we all knew he was right when he said it, but it's still something that you don't do as a coach for another coach in their fraternity, So Ulrich ruined his career by taking the head coaching job. I think he's probably going to be, he hopes for a DC job next year, if not a linebackers coach, and works himself back to a DC. I think he's going to be a career DC. I don't think he's going to be a head coach. That's for sure. He's cooked. Yeah, we don't want Rodgers. Absolutely no way. Not for the money. No way. If it was a thing, no. Even if just because of the personality, you don't want him back. You don't want him being like a vet leader to a young. You just no. Ulbrich, yeah. Gun to my head, linebacker coach or DC, I'd probably say linebacker coach. I'm with you, Peter. No Aaron Glenn. No Rex, no Gruden. I'm with you there. Yeah, Rex. I if Rex was the head coach and then went south, that might be the end of me. That might be the end of me. I really could not do that. I cannot believe people are talking about Rex being that coach. It's just idiots. Sorry, I don't mean to be brash, but you're an idiot if you think Rex should be the coach. Yeah. Leonard, of course, they get a 95-yard or whatever it was pick six, and it's Leonard Williams. Like, of course, it's just of course. I'm surfing through the chat. I don't think that any of these quarterbacks in the draft are truly top 10 quarterbacks, not really first-round quarterbacks. I can't speak to that, Matt, because I haven't evaluated it, but I'll look into it. But the thing is, again, if this year's number 1 and 2 are next year's 3 and 4, are the Jets going to be in position to draft their 1 and 2 next year? I don't know. I had to sell myself. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's I don't want to scare anybody who hasn't had one, but oh my God, it is not fun. Take Justin Fields for a year, lose Rod. Why Fields though? Like, why not just Tyrod and Jordan Travis? Like, I'm not so big into Fields. The problem with Fields is, like, you want to incorporate a little bit of his running style into the offense, but then if he fails or whatever, could he beat out Russell Wilson, who's been playing okay with the Steelers? I just, like, you need a specific coordinator for Fields to work, in my opinion. So I almost rather just Tyrod, Jordan Travis, and let's say they don't draft a quarterback in the first round, a 4th round guy, something like that. You let them all compete, see where the chips fall. But I'm not so big into the Justin Fields thing. They had 30 seconds left. Oh, the Pats game, did they? Did they have timeouts and stuff? I kind of forget. Kidney stones. You got to drink more water, dude. Water, and put some. After that happened, I was like, yo, I'm gonna put some lemon juice in my water consistently, because apparently the lemon, like the acidity, breaks up the stones. So drink some lemon juice in your water. They said like 4 ounces a day mixed into your water, which should kind of prevent them. So I know once you get them, you have a higher risk of getting them again, and I do not want them again. So I'm gonna be drinking a lot of lemon water. Is there any way 2025 isn't a lost year? Seems like no matter how they slice it, 25. Like, again, I think erring on the side of caution is probably smarter for just our overall mental health at this point, Rob. But with that being said, look how quickly teams turn around. Look at the Texans; they were an absolute dumpster fire. Look at the Commanders; those are the 2 best examples. With what I would argue, Texans maybe you can argue like talented, the talent on the roster is comparable to the Jets, but the Commanders aren't as talented as the Jets. They got the right coach. They got the right quarterback. Can the Jets possibly get the right coach, the right quarterback? Yeah, they could. So there's a possibility they're a playoff team. Again, it sounds crazy. I wouldn't bet my life on it based on what we've endured the last 15 years. But the Commanders are about what are they 9-3? Are they 9-3? 8-4? They're something like that. They're gonna make the playoffs. They were ass last year. They were supposed to be the Commanders were thought of as being like a bottom 5 team this year, bottom 10 team this year, and they're gonna make the playoffs. As a wild card, right? I don't know what's the Eagles. The Eagles lost like 2 games. I know they're competing with the Eagles at the top. Let's see. It could be more pain. Jarrett Nycyber, Daniel Jones. Yeah, I don't know who these names are. I'm not a college football guy. Sauce needs help, can't catch or tackle. He needs to tackle better. And the drop pick versus the Vikings is wild, dude. Like I have a 4-year-old niece who I throw a football like that to, and she could catch it. Like really, like, and that's not even me. That's not even me being hyperbolic or anything like that. Like I throw a ball to a 4-year-old who can catch it like that. My son is 10 and a half months, and he might be able to catch it. Might be able to catch that ball. What are we doing? What are we doing? Joe has forgotten more football knowledge than the Jets front office has learned or demonstrated. I appreciate that. Thanks, Knob. I haven't seen you in a while. Or maybe even never, Knob. I know I've heard of I've seen you in other streams before. Maybe this is your first time being in here, but I think with a comment like that, you've been in here before. So I appreciate you, Knob. Maybe I haven't seen you in a while. Curly flying to Jacksonville for that game, got tickets before the season. Stupid me. But the thing is, I'm assuming you're talking about plane tickets that aren't refundable, right? Because like, let's say I paid $200 for Jaguar tickets because I was sitting close or whatever. Would I eat 200, 250, 300? Probably even, I would say probably up to $500 right now I'd eat to just not go to that game. Because how much is airfare? How much is the hotel? How much didn't it cost you to eat out, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? How much is that trip going to cost you, Curly? Like $2K? So do you just eat the $300-$400, whatever you paid for tickets, $200? Yeah, I would eat it. But we were going to plan a trip this year. And then it was like, dude, they're starting to suck. Like, do we want to go to New England? They lost that game. Thank God I didn't go to that game. We were planning on going to Miami or Jacksonville, but I rather have, no, like I'm just not going to watch the Jets this year. And I've been to an away game the last, I don't know, 8 years or whatever it's been. I couldn't do it this year. I could support a bad team who's supposed to suck. I can't support a good team who's supposed to make the playoffs, who's one of the worst teams in the NFL. I just can't do it. Cannot do it. Reddick, Devontae, a big waste of money. Reddick, obviously not ideal. I think Devontae is still a solid receiver. I think with a good quarterback and good coaching, Devontae would have been fine. I get it being like a last ditch effort, but at the end of the day, are you wrong? No. The whole Reddick thing, yeah, like that was an absolute just dumpster fire with how that all played out and how they handled the defensive line. Do I think adding Devontae with Rodgers alongside Garrett Wilson was the worst move? I don't. For what was it, like a third round pick or a fourth that could be a third or whatever the hell it was. I don't think it was the worst deal in the world, but at the end of the day, at this point, is it a waste of money? Yeah, everything that they paid for is a waste of money at this point. So no one knows what constitutes a strong or weak quarterback class. Everyone's guessing. Yeah, you can have like inklings of what you like to see in quarterbacks, but it's so hit or miss with quarterbacks. Look at Zach Wilson. If you talk about people who are saying that Zach Wilson only got drafted because of one pro day throw are idiots. Like, I'm sorry. If you look at the whole pre-draft thing with Zach Wilson, before that pro day, he was already considered the number 2 quarterback in the class. It further cemented himself, but it was not because of one throw. If you say that is extremely short-sighted. It's just undoubtedly not true. Reaction, like Eagle, like the thing is, if they were winning and stuff and they did quarterback sneaks with Conklin, like I would get mad. But like, what I'm telling you, I am so indifferent. Or is that, I don't know if that's the right word, like just like monotone and not really caring about change. I don't care. Like there are certain plays where my wife isn't really, she'll watch the Jets if they're good, kind of a fair weather fan. Obviously with the kid, take care of the kid first and not really focusing on the TV. But like, when bad plays would happen, she'd look at me, I'd get pissed in the past. But now she'll see a really stupid play and look at me. I'm like, yeah, it just is what it is. Like I really do not, my blood pressure doesn't raise. My heart rate stays at 60, 65, 70, wherever the hell it is. I don't get mad anymore. I just don't. I don't care. I just don't care. And at least if I was mad, I would want to come in here and vent and stuff. But what got me away from it for 7 weeks was the indifference. Like I could not care less about the Jets. And I'm here because like I want to, obviously, one, I don't want to lose listeners and all that stuff is important for me to talk to you guys and the people who are here all the time. Like I feel like I kind of let them down if I'm like your weekly, drive to work or whatever. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't care less. It's really what it was. I've been pissed in the past, and that's why I came on here, and it's easy and it's nice to vent and stuff. But when you don't care about something, it's hard to talk about it. Jets will lose out. Bet on it. They suck. I'm hoping, Peter. Really, I want a better draft pick, but the Jags with Mac Jones, I don't know, man. I don't know. Tony, missed the weekly shows, football genius. I appreciate that, dude. I do. Safety room is not good. Yeah, Tony Adams. That was my concern with Tony Adams was I like the versatility, but he can't tackle. I think at this point he's probably the backup next year, but I think you probably need 2 new starters, right? Like I would be okay with Tony Adams and Jalen Mills as your 3 and 4, but not as your 1 and 2 anymore. You know, so. I thought they had technology now to give you medicine to reduce the size of the stone. No, that's not true. They could so they either go in through your piece, your lower piece. If you're blessed enough, you can call it your third leg. They go in through that and then go in there and pull it out, or they can give you like basically like a whatever it is, like they shockwave you through your like ultrasound you through your kidney and it breaks it up. The thing is, if it breaks it up, 1, you still got to pass the stones, and 2, they can all clump up and come out together anyway. It still hurt like a bitch. So, yeah, I wish, trust me, because if that existed, I would take it. But I got a big one, so it's not going to pass. Yeah, I would pay a lot of money to just pass it naturally. D tackle Mason Graham. Yeah, I've been hearing he's a stud. I'm going to evaluate him at a certain point. Brian Flores would be a great pickup. Need a solid GM. Yeah, of course. I'm okay with Flores. Like, yeah, I'm okay with it. Again, maybe not my home run pick, but like I would take him. I would take him again. I prefer Johnson, even though I don't think he's going to come here. I probably prefer Rabel over Flores. There's just some concerning things about, again, how he handled Tua and stuff that kind of knocks him down a little bit, knocks him down a peg or 2. But I'll be okay with it. Sam, Q, and Mosley. Yeah, but Sam wasn't a building block at that point. You weren't going out of the 2021 season and saying, yeah, we want Sam. So, and Mosley was at that point, a 28-year-old linebacker, 29-year-old linebacker. So, like, yeah, he's a piece, but he's not a building block. Q was the only building block. Now we got Q, McDonald, Fashanu, and obviously we can argue the level, like they're not Q level, but you got Fashanu, you got Tittman, you got Simpson for another year, you got Sherwood, who's a decent linebacker, you got Quincy, you have Sauce, you have Michael Carter II, you have Garrett, you have some guys, and even Brees, if he can bounce back, but this year has not been great for him. What about Josh McCown for an offensive coordinator with Vrabel as the head coach? Yeah, like, hey, Josh McCown has been doing well with the. I think he's a quarterbacks coach though with the Vikings. He's not the OC, right? And even if Kevin McConnell is like an OC anyway, maybe he's the OC. But even if he doesn't, I'm sure he doesn't call the plays. I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with Josh McCown. But again, now you're talking about a first-time coordinator, dude. Is that a slam dunk for me? No, it's not. I wouldn't be that pissed. Like I wouldn't be that pissed. There's a difference in playing the position and coaching the position. Sherwood, Eccles, Moses, Charles. Sherwood, Eccles, Moses plus Charles Yeboah for only players I would retain. Yeah, I like Sherwood. Eccles is a good depth corner. I'm cool with Moses as the vet right tackle. Dude, Charles is like, he's just so hot and cold where, one time he's getting past 2-3 guys as a gunner, and then there's other times where he's getting like, what was the game where he got that stupid ass hit on the punt returner? So like Charles is also good for a couple penalties a year too. So like he's a little bit too volatile for me to say like, yeah, I definitely want him back. I'm indifferent. They bring him back, sure, great, whatever. But what is he gonna want? I'm not paying a lot of money for him. If it's talk about like a minimum contract, okay, but that's about it. Like I'm not paying the Justin Hardy like $2 million a year for a guy who's kind of a volatile gunner. No matter what, we need the GM first. Don't hire a head coach. Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. GM first, head coach second, and keep the reporting structure of head coach reports to GM who reports to owner. Not the you don't want the head coach and GM. Obviously, it all works out, and we don't have to worry about this. But let's say it doesn't work out, and they're having some bumps in the road. Them both going to Woody behind closed doors and talking shit about the other. You want a nice chain of command there. I don't know if it's true, but did Rodgers skip practice to promote? I couldn't even care less. I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, I don't think Rodgers is the worst dude in the world or anything like that, but he has some bravado when you don't back it up on the field. I don't care. Does it make sense to offer DJ Reed a team-friendly deal? Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to offer him a friendly deal. I think he's mediocre. I think even last year, I think fans tend to overrate DJ Reed a little bit. I think he's a solid number 2 corner. But people acting like he's a number 1 and people are going to pay him as number 1. That is just unequivocally false in my opinion. Now, how do you define a 1? If he goes to a bad team and he's technically the highest paid corner or the number 1, like, yeah, then he's miscast. I think he's a good number 2. Or even a decent number 2, just a decent number 2 at this point. But yeah, I would offer him, I don't know, what, 8, 9, 10 million, 8, 9 million, something like that. 10 mil, maybe. Kind of hard to say. Again, I haven't been watching the last 7 weeks, like specifically, and corners and safeties is something you have to really evaluate through watching the film, because you're not on, you can't see it. Well, we root for the Jets, so technically we're all idiots, dedicated idiots. Antonio Pierce, I guess, like, yeah, sure. What did he do? What was he before he was the head coach for the Raiders? Like, wasn't he a positional coach? Was he the DC? I forget, honestly, Knob. Fellas, we shitting on the Jet. What else can we do, dude? I can't talk positively about him. What's your position you're choosing? I don't know, because I don't know. Like, what if I say tackle and there's no guy worth a first round pick? I sound like an idiot, right? Like, you prefer the big spot. Like, you prefer a receiver, you prefer a corner, you prefer, a tackle, maybe the D tackle to pair alongside Q, quarterback, one of those spots. So you want one of the major positions. I think if they continue to lose games, it's probably gonna be a quarterback, right? Like, how do you not? I think Tyrod with a good head coach wins you 7, 8, 9 games next year. So then you're going to be at pick 15. How do you get to the top of then? What, you're going to have to trade 3 first-round draft picks, 4 first-round draft picks, get to the top 3 again? I don't know. Sauce he needs to chill on social media, dude, too. Like, I like Sauce, obviously. Like, I wanted the Jets to draft him and stuff, but the putting shit up on Twitter and then deleting it 5 minutes after is very childish. Like, he needs to chill on that shit. Oh, I appreciate it. No, thanks, dude. I hate how bad this loyal franchise gets beat. Yeah, we deserve it more than anybody, really. Like, being like a Jets Mets fan is just, and a Nets fan too. Like, they suck now too, and my heart got broken with them, a couple of years ago when they had obviously like a vet roster and they got injured and shit. But like, being a Mets Jets fan is just brutal. Jets even worse than the Mets. At least the Mets are turning it around now. And then I think they're probably the favorites for Soto. Overachieved this year, almost made the World Series, beat the Dodgers. They won 2 games. The Yankees only won 1. I can tell you that the Mets are, I would say as a Mets fan, I'm less tortured than I am as a Jets fan, even though I'm obviously much bigger of a Jets fan than a Mets fan. Believe. Oh yeah, Eagle. Obviously I've been seeing this up on Twitter. I rarely log in anymore, but Eagle lost like 400 pounds. Eagle's killing it. So 177. Yeah, dude. I'm on my diet. Now I lost 177 pounds. My health is more important. We obviously don't have to choose health or the Jets, but I'm sure the Jets technically don't help your health if they're raising your blood pressure all the time, right? I guess technically you're right. It's crazy in hindsight how the 2022 season, the last few games, tanked the rebuild and led to Rodgers. Yeah. Lions game, Jags game, Dolphins game. 10 that year were just brutal. And again, I'm not going to be the guy like, oh, Rodgers was the wrong move. It wasn't the wrong move. It was the right move. It just didn't work out. Did not work out. Denver game, Charles took the awful penalty. Was that the game? I thought it was a little bit later than that, Curly. I could be, again, completely tapped out. I could be wrong. But was that the game where he hit the guy like, after he's fair catching it or before he caught the ball was fair catching it? So Joe, is it safe? Best player? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so, because what happens if Mason Graham is a better D tackle than Sanders is as a quarterback, but they need a quarterback? I don't think it's safe to say BPA, because they may have to force a quarterback a little bit, Andrew Yale, thank God I have the Yankees. Yeah, how old are you though? Because they haven't won since 13 or 14? And like, that was a disappointing World Series. Like, they didn't really even look competitive. Like, at least the Mets look competitive and can score runs. They might lose Soto. Hey, great. Judge is awesome in the regular season, but it doesn't really matter. You want to win rings. So, okay. So you're 49. So you have some years of seeing that win, but recently they haven't been great. You give Judge, I think it's a massive contract, right? But like, when do you want him to perform? Game game 145 against the Reds or in the World Series. He doesn't perform in the playoffs. He's pretty terrible in the playoffs consistently. So this is the best situation a GM can want. Team is loaded with young talent, can have a clean cap. But it's a good situation. It's just, again, how much does Woody Johnson factor into that? The meddling. That's undoubtedly part of it. And being in the New York market, there's a lot of pressure here to win. Jets fans are freaking frustrated. So you're going to have a short leash with fans. And we know that Woody Johnson checks Twitter, and we know that the Jets are checking out X Factor and stuff like that. So hopefully it's a thing where he'll be patient with them. And honestly, be patient with them. But at a certain point, if we suck next year, it's like, dude, what are we talking about? Look how good this team is. It's just wild. What we might have in Travis. This is a thing too. Again, I'm always going to be completely transparent with you guys, Andrew. It's people are like, oh, well, if he wasn't hurt, he would be a late first or a second round pick. I think that's a bunch of horseshit. He was a 5th round pick. If he was healthy, he'd probably be a 3rd or a 4th. Really a one read guy, doesn't have the best arm power to my remembrance. Had some baffling pick. You can obviously go back and watch the review. If you just type in, blew it and, whatever, Jordan Travis on YouTube, it'll pop up. But it's not like I'm not pushing my chips in for Travis. That's for sure. Yeah, you've seen championships. Yeah, Mets I haven't seen any, obviously. Jets I haven't seen any. Nets I've never been close, minus the Bucks series where, we lost the series because of a freaking big toe of Kevin Durant. I would say that's the most disappointing super team of all time. They played like 13 games together, completely blew up, only won one playoff series. Devils, they won in what, like 90, 98, 2000, like 2001 or 2002, whatever it was. But I was like 8-9 years old, so I didn't appreciate it. I don't really count it. Even though the Devils are looking pretty good this year. They got some goaltending and more physicality, which they needed. They were the softest team in the NHL last couple of years. They added some tough guys with Dylan and stuff. So I think the Devils have a chance this year, actually. I'm hoping for it. But know anything more about Penn State? Drew Alar, Saul Mock with no. I don't know, Meatball. Again, complete transparency. I know nothing about anybody in the draft this year until I actually start researching, guys. 56 years and counting for what? The Jets? Jets Super Bowl? Yeah. I'm going to let the chat fill up for just a second. I do want to go into this. I owe you guys some gifted membership because I have not done it. And I disappeared for quite a while. So I feel like I owe you guys something. Again, memberships, and people don't really even care right now. But you get a little banner next to your name. Eventually, you get emojis and all that stuff. I'm jumping back into the game. I'll get it all settled where I'll really figure out what we want to do with this. But let me gift some memberships here, even though my YouTube's screwing with me. I'll let the chat fill up. Membership gifting. I'll do 10. I was like 20. I was $80 for 20. Jeez. Okay. I'll do 10. 10 memberships going out. Let's see who gets them. If it loads. Bang. All right. Welcome to the JetX members now. Let's see who you are. How do you see this, though? Is there a way to see that? Do I have to go on my own YouTube? No. Yeah, I don't know how to see it. I don't know what's going on. I'm rusty. I am rusty. My YouTube's not loading. My phone. Okay, here we are. Still not loading. Whatever. I'll figure out in a second once it loads. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we have Andrew Yale. I see you in here often. Kelvin, I've seen you in here before. Cantu, I've never seen you. Franklin Funk, never seen you. Sharon McLean. All right, what's up? Jet Up Buttercup, I think I've seen you. Mr. Bonesy, what's up, Bonesy? I appreciate Bonesy getting one. Johnny Boy, okay, I've seen you in here. Phil Hannon, never. David, sweet, awesome. I like that. A few of you that I definitely know listen to the stream often are in here. So now you get a little green thing. You get some you'll get some emojis eventually. You get some like players next to your names and stuff like that. So and it helps support us and stuff. So again, I owed you guys something. So there's $40 from me basically. Okay. Let me scroll down in the chat, see if there's anything else in here. How do you think that the season would have gone if they? I think they probably would. I don't know, man. Like he sucked too. I would say it'd be better than Ulbrich. I think throwing Ulbrich into the fire and having him be both the DC and head coach was overall obviously not the right decision. Maybe they win an extra game or two. Maybe the guys have a little bit more motivation. I think overall the team was probably not thrilled with it. So maybe they win an extra game, but like they also just lost to Denver 10-9. They lost to the Vikings in the last drive. So like maybe another win, maybe not. Like again, not to like discredit your question, but like at this point, who even gives a shit? Like let's just sim the next 5 weeks, see where they end up. Let's start talking about the draft in the offseason. Let's just get on with it. And then hope for next year that they can actually do something, So I literally cried after our second AFC Championship loss. Yeah, man. Those are the good times. I didn't even know it. We didn't even know it. And I probably missed this. Yeah, I'm Team Tank, Meatball. Like I've said before, it's a thing where during the game, it's really hard for me not to root for the Jets. But with that being said, the better thing for this franchise is losing right now. Again, the only concern I have with losing the last 5 is the mindset. But you have a new coach coming in, and at the end of the day, what is winning an extra game or two to get to 4 or 5 wins really do for these guys? What's really going to make a difference is getting the right GM, the right head coach, and winning games next year with them. Like none of those guys are going to be gone next year, in my opinion, unless they request a trade in the offseason. But to me, the best thing for this franchise's health in the future is losing games, and that's what I want. So. Every Friday at 5 doing quarterback videos. I don't know. I mean, like quarterback videos. I want to evaluate them myself. I don't know what you guys are necessarily doing, but keep killing it. Tony the GM. I know. I didn't know you. I know you like streamed and stuff, but everybody kind of streams nowadays. I'm not saying you're just anybody. You could be great, but I don't know if I've ever seen you on like Twitter or anything like that. But Joe, I totally understand your apathy towards that's a better word than just what I was saying before. Apathy was a word I was searching for. So thank you in my own mind. Towards this team, the last week was the first game of the season I didn't watch just because I didn't care, and I figured they'd probably lose. Yeah, again, I'll always watch just because of whatever, like just my fandom and stuff. But do I completely understand you not watching? Like if you had another thing to do, if your buddy wanted to go out for a beer and play some pool, whatever it might have been, and you just didn't really care about the game, I understand not caring about this at all. Like I really could not care less. I just see no winning in winning games. Yeah, there's not, Andrew. I just said that. There's the best thing for this friend. Would you rather right now have the 12th pick and win 5 games, or would you rather have the second pick and win 3 games? What's better? Like who gives a shit if this regime wins? Because nobody's gonna be here. They're gonna get rid of a lot of players, get rid of a lot of guys. Like, it doesn't do anything. Now, if these guys are gonna be here next year, okay, like build some momentum into next year. If this is now, hopefully, just pray to God this does not happen because we're hoping for a better year next year. Let's say this is 2025, and we're 6-8, and we're talking about like, okay, do we want to win games? At the end of the year. Or let's say 6-9 because they're not going to make the playoffs at that point. Like, do you want to win games at that point? Yeah, I'll root for wins for the 6-9 Jets next year, because we have the coaches and the GM in place. But everybody's gone, so what does it matter? Like you're protecting your star players' mindset. Does winning a game or two do shit to it? Probably not. Like realistically, at the end of the day, they know they still suck and they want better. They want championships. They don't want to win 5 games. So, like I think that's the thing you consider is the mindset, but I don't think it matters that much. I don't think it's that big of a factor where I'd rather win the games than lose the games. Again, if the staff was in place, then fine. I could buy into that, but no. I think you got to send the young, but like lose out. But really, what does winning a game against the Jaguars do? Like they know this year is disappointing. I don't think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like terrible year, but yeah, remember that week 16 game against the Jaguars? Like it doesn't really do much. I think what makes a difference is them seeing a good GM come in, a good head coach, good, a good locker room, good presence coming in. I don't think winning against the Jaguars does anything. I think the Jets taking the proper steps going forward means much more than winning a meaningless game. Like, so I get that, but if they're teetering on coming back or not on a week 15 game against the Jaguars, I just think it's kind of unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it matter at this point? What does it matter? Jerry says it's not about apathy for this season. How can this team ever be successful? Again, like, yeah, he meddles and stuff, but they were successful in 2009, 2010. If Mark Sanchez was just a decent quarterback, and I know we had some comebacks and shit like that, but if Mark Sanchez was a mid quarterback in 2009, 2010, they probably at least go to the Super Bowl, if not win a Super Bowl. And Woody was the coach then, or I mean, Woody was the owner then. So if they could do it then, why not now? Now, do I prefer him to be the owner? No, like I'd rather have some Joe Schmo who will invest in the team but doesn't really get in the daily stuff and doesn't tweet about Taylor Swift and highlights and all this shit. Like, yeah, again, the stadium, getting out of it, getting into it, all that shit like pisses me off about Woody Johnson, but I don't think it's a thing where he's the absolute reason they've been losing. Right? Solomon Thomas, Javon Kinlaw, and Michael Clemens better be gone. Well, Solomon Thomas is like as a backup defensive tackle. Okay. As a starter, absolutely not. Kinlaw, again, remember that they signed this guy for $7.5 million when he proved absolutely nothing with the Niners. And then people kind of jumped on me for saying he's going to suck, and he sucked. And Michael Clemens is just beyond awful. Rooting for entertaining games with an ultimate loss. You know what you root for? You know what I'll root for, Andrew, is for Brees, for Garrett, for Sauce, for Michael Carter II, for Quincy, for Sherwood, for all those guys to do well, but Rodgers throws 4 pick sixes. Like, that's what I want the good players to play well, so to get some confidence and a little bit happy with their stats. But again, I just don't think that the winning a meaningless game does anything for their mindset. Like they were thinking Super Bowl this year. They're like, oh well, again, thank God we won that game to go 4-13 instead of 3-14 or whatever that. I think I just screwed that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wanted a Super Bowl or playoffs. They don't care about winning, 3 games versus 4 games versus 5 games. No matter what, it's a disappointing year. So hope that, they all get their yards and Sauce gets a pick and all this stuff, but the old players suck. Let's hope that Rodgers throws a couple of picks and, I don't know, Chuck Clark or whoever gets beat at safety, or DJ Reed and probably won't be back. Like, root for the players to play well. They're going to be here for the long term, but not the win. That's kind of where I'm at. You don't tank. You play the kids for evaluation. Yeah, no. Well, they're not gonna tank. Like, they're not gonna take them out. But in terms of, like, again, me signing the line for winning or losing the game, I'd rather lose the games right now. So, Peter, you can't blame Woody for everything. He gave the coaching staff everything they wanted, but the one thing yeah, again, like he invests. He gave Joe Douglas a big contract, a 6-year contract, like all guaranteed. Like, he did everything. Well, actually, yeah. He'll invest money. It's not like he is the Wilpons where he wasn't investing in the Mets, or like, some of these teams like the White Sox, or like the A's, who are like, they have like a $50 million payroll, while like the Mets have like a $300 million one. It's not like he's a bad owner where he won't invest. Again, the meddling, the raising the season tickets, that shit like pisses me off, but I don't think he's prohibiting the Jets from ever winning. That's what I'd say. Joe, can you speak on the defensive interference penalties? I'm wondering, are they legitimate or that just normal gameplay? I would need more context here in my own mind. Can you speak on the defensive interference penalties? I'm wondering, are they legitimate? Yeah. Do you have a situation? I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. See you, Andrew. Get back to work. I wonder what you do, but throw an AirPod in. Can you throw an AirPod in at work, or do you have to kind of talk to people and stuff? I don't know. I agree about tanking. I'm saying Rodgers throws 4 picks, but the young player. Yeah. That's completely cool with me, dude. Peter, like, hey, have Garrett Wilson have 400 yards, and 4 touchdowns, but Rodgers throws 6 pick sixes. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Chris gave Joe Douglas that contract. I think Woody Johnson will do he'll do anything to win. Like, he really will. Again, it's just about meddling. And I think at first with Joe Douglas, he wasn't, but then he saw it going, the ship heading in the wrong direction, kind of panicked. He's getting old. I think that's what happened. Would be cool to have Kyle Smith. I cannot imagine Kyle Smith wants to talk about the Jets right now. It's been over a year that he's been on this podcast. I can't imagine he'd be like, yeah, well, now if the Jets are up to make the playoffs, yeah, maybe, but no. I think he's prohibited from them hiring talented GMs and coaches. Okay, but like, so again, we don't have any history of you, Jerry. Like, you don't. Maybe you have history. Maybe you don't. But were you mad at Joe Douglas hiring? Because I wasn't. I was happy with Joe Douglas. At the point where Saleh was hired, was I happy with Saleh? Yeah. Like, I don't think he got some D-list candidates. We all wanted Douglas. We were all clamoring for him, Ravens and under Ozzie and all this shit. We were all excited. And they hired one of the top head coaching candidates. Like it's not like they hired Gase again. Like they hired who we wanted. It just didn't work. So I'm not gonna say he's gonna prohibit them. Unless it's a thing where because of recently, Ben Johnson's like, nah, he's meddling. I don't want a part of it. Okay, then yeah. But in the past, I don't think that's been true. Pretend to work. All right, Peter. Adios. Good luck with pretending to work. I'm off today. I finished my week yesterday, so I'm off. Actually, I took off Sunday because my buddy, I haven't seen him in a while. I go to Jets games with him. He's like, I miss you, dude. Like, I haven't seen you in a while. So I have Thursday, I have today off, Friday off, Saturday off, and I took Sunday off. So I got a nice little four-day break now. He also completely hamstrung Joe this season, off-season plan, making logical moves. Yeah. This is from The Athletic and Diana Rossini. Like he hamstrung him in terms of what though? Because he brought in Devontae. He brought in Reddick. Again, Reddick was the wrong move. I much rather have had Huff, Quentin Jefferson, and JFM over bringing back or over Reddick, and Kinlaw, and even Fotu at that point. Like I rather, I didn't think Fotu was great. So there were some missteps, but it's not like he said, "Hey Joe, we can only spend $5 million this offseason." Like they spent plenty, So, yeah. Did Chris did hire Saleh, didn't he? Yeah, I think he did. But in general, I'm sure he had to run through Woody. It's like the whole thing with like Woody. I think people maybe. I don't think that Woody went MIA, and like it's not like we live in 1750 and there's no communication overseas. Like I'm sure that Woody Johnson was talking to Chris. Like, I don't think Woody just said, "Okay, no, I'm not going to talk to him at all." Like I'm sure he had some say in it. Like undoubtedly, like if you own a team, it's like, "Oh, well, you just do your thing, Chris. I'm kind of busy over here in England." I don't think so. Joe Douglas screwed himself with Saleh and rookie. That's the one thing, Peter. I'm with you. Having a rookie, and I've said this before. I don't know if you were listening to me at this point, Peter, but and right off the jump too. This is not Monday morning quarterbacking. I said it before the season even went wrong. I said bringing in a rookie head coach with a rookie OC with a rookie quarterback is a mistake. With no and mind you, not even just those three things, Peter. Also, the fact that they didn't have a backup quarterback who was a veteran. They had no veteran quarterback, no, and again, rookie head coach, rookie OC, rookie quarterback. And with that being said, they had absolutely nothing at tight end too. They had like Tyler Croft and Ryan Griffin. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like it was just Joe Douglas his first couple of years, kicker, kicker, some of those moves I just talked about, like, yeah, he made some mistakes for sure. The corpse of Leaky Fotu, yeah. Rangers analysts upset about Jack Hughes tried scoring on Shesterkin during their blowout. Dude, so soft, right, Meatball? I heard that too. Like, at the end of the day, like does he bitch about, I don't know, let's say he's a Yankees fan, if Aaron Judge hits a home run and does a bat flip, like is Aaron Judge now a piece of shit, or should you stop them from trying to score or hitting home runs, or a guy dunks and he he pounds his chest, or a guy catches a touchdown and he spins the ball, like, so they're just not allowed to they're not allowed to have some style or flair anymore, or are you just mad that the Rangers got blown out 5-1 and they completely shit on Shesterkin and made him look like garbage? I think the Rangers are falling. And I think the Devils are physical now, so they can kind of handle the Rangers, and they shouldn't have a problem with them. Everybody has their off games and stuff, but what a bitch that announcer was. I am 100% with you. Soft. How about you stop them from winning? How about you stop them from scoring, and then maybe win the game? But I think he's salty that the Rangers were getting their ass kicked. Did you see Eric Bieniemy got fired? I did not, and I couldn't care less. I that's not a name I want at all. At all. I am not interested in Bieniemy at all. No. Apparently doesn't interview well. I know Nagy is Nagy the OC for the Chiefs now? But wasn't he I don't know if he was the OC before he got hired with the Bears or whatever it was, but Nagy was the OC for the Chiefs, didn't work out with the Bears. Bieniemy apparently doesn't interview well, and it's Andy Reid's offense. I will be furious. Again, we can talk about defensive coach, whatever it may be. If I think one of the bigger mistakes you could possibly do is hiring a coordinator under the head coach's specialty. So if you hire Bieniemy from an Andy Reid's calling the plays, he's the mastermind of that offense. You have no idea what the offense would be with Bieniemy. If you hire a DC who's under defensive head coach, if you hire Ulbrich under Saleh, if a team did that last year, massive mistake. So unequivocally, no, I would not be interested. I don't know if you're asking that, if you're just saying, hey, do you see he got fired, which I did not, but if that's an eternity, would you be interested in him? 0%. I would not be interested. Clueless coaching all should have been fired last year, but they listened to Rodgers' big mistake. Yeah, it's a tough spot, right? Like, but the thing was, like, clueless coaching and stuff, like, they still won 7 games with a terrible quarterback. So, like, hey, Rodgers just plays average, like, we should win 10, 11 games. Like, that was the thinking. But yeah, like, hindsight, like, yeah, it was all a big mistake, but let's reset it. Let's reset it next year and see where we go. But I actually got to run now. I got to run it. Technically, I had to 155, but I kind of ran to the end of the chat. I appreciate you guys. Again, I'm sorry for being gone for 7 weeks. I plan on being back every week. If I miss a week, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll be back again. I'm sorry for leaving. Thank you to 10 members, even though I bought them. But enjoy the memberships. Jerry, really quick. Ben Johnson has turned down multiple job interviews. Why would he take it? Talent on the team, I would argue. But I could see him not, again, wanting to be New York market, pressure, Woody Johnson, all that stuff. But I appreciate you guys. I'll be back again. Film reviews. I'm going to start working on the college prospects, but I'm not going to be doing the game ones. I couldn't care less about watching Aaron Rodgers and all that shit right now. But I will see you guys later. Adios.